Hello, YouTube. This is Kevin with the Weird Homes Tour. I hope that everyone is doing well. If This is live TV, for all of you who are tuning in with us today, uh, I'm with the Weird Homes Tour, and what we do is we do home tours of unique and eclectic homes, and we do them all across the U.S. We have a new home every week, and so if you want to see more homes like this, please join us on our YouTube channel. Just subscribe. Hit the little bell for notifications. That way you can't miss anything that we're going to be doing. And while you're at it, hit us with a like, drop us a comment, all that fun stuff. And so this is a really special week for us today. Really, really fun. We usually do home tours of homes. But for this week, we are being joined with Bruce Pascal and his super deluxe man cave and Hot Wheels collection. And we say man cave because Bruce's collection has expanded so much that he can't keep it in his home anymore. So he's had to have a whole warehouse full of Hot Wheels stuff. And we're going to be talking with Bruce and learning all about it. It's going to be super fun. For all of you who are joining us live, just drop a question in the little chat box and we'll get to it along the way. And well, enough of me talking. Bruce, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, all the Weird Homes followers. I'm excited to be here this evening and share my man cave. My story's pretty simple. I'm 59 years old. Hot Wheels came out when I was about 7 or 8, and they were the greatest toy of all time. 52 years later, Hot Wheels are still made, and they're the #1 boys' toy of all time. And I made it my mission to collect Hot Wheels, but also all the items that are associated with Hot Wheels, the games, the advertising, the internal memos from the factory, the blueprints, the designers. Well, you'll get a hint of what I have as we go through my man cave. So welcome. Let's start right here. This is one of the reasons my wife kicked me out of the house. She didn't like the idea of having Hot Wheels artwork all around. So she said, go find your own place. What do we have here? It's over 6 feet tall. This is the actual banner you would see when you drove by a Shell gas station in 1970 or 1971. It's pretty cool. And what's special about it is, look at this car on the bottom. This car was purposely created by an artist named Otto Cooney. And why does it look like this? Because Mattel did not want to pay royalties to Ford or General Motor or Chrysler. So he made a car that kind of looked like it was the son if all three made it. And that way they didn't have to pay any royalties. Now let me show you a few other items. This is my personal office in the actual warehouse. And as you can see, I got loads of stuff all around me. Perhaps many of you as a kid played with the Rod Runner set. It's a real cool set. You push something down and the car goes out real fast. Maybe some of you were living in Japan in 1970. Well, you could get the same item with Japanese writing all around it. I think it says Rod Runner set in Japanese. And then who doesn't remember the iconic orange track? Isn't it amazing? This is 52 years old and it still is nimble and plays great, and you can attach them all together and have hundreds of feet of Hot Wheel fun. Does anybody remember the old Supercharger set? So I found out, I spoke to the original employee who invented this item. It's pretty cool. Inside are 2 miniature little wheels that go in the same direction. He discovered one day when he put his finger on a record player that it shot out. So why not put the equivalent of 2 miniature record players inside this little house, and when the car went through the Supercharger, zoom, the car went out at 100 miles an hour. A great invention. And this is actually where Hot Wheels made most of their money, was from the sets. Let's go into what I call the gallery section first. So it's half warehouse, half gallery. So let's start with the art. Has anybody ever wondered, how is a Hot Wheel actually even made and designed? Here's part of what's called the Cockney cab, which was a British taxi that I'm sure many of you have probably taken yourself if you travel around the world. Well, the first step is the designer. Actually, his name was Howard Reese, one of the second or third designers of Mattel. He actually designed the whole car, different angles, and then he takes that drawing to the president of the company named Elliot Handler. And Elliot would say, up or down? And guess what? They decided to make that car. And speaking of Elliot, famous wife. There's a picture of Elliot, his wife Ruth, and me 20 years ago. He invented the Hot Wheel, and Ruth, 10 years earlier, invented the Barbie doll. The husband and wife of Mattel invented the #1 girls' toy and boys' toy in the history of the world, including today. Mattel just released their earnings, and Barbie sales reached another record. Is that amazing? And Hot Wheels were up 9%. So let's go into this room. One of my greatest finds I ever found was tracking down some of the original designers that worked for Mattel. It took a long time and a little bit of convincing, but I was able to convince them to sell me some of their original artwork. So let's look at this. Here's a car, and it's got all this chrome in the back, hundreds of exhaust pipes. And here's two names, Chrome Dome, because it's got a lot of chrome, or Noodlehead. But Mattel had a woman that worked for the company that came up with cool names, and she liked Noodlehead better, and that's the name of the car. And here's another beautiful drawing. Howard Reese also did this. Do we make this car with 2 engines in the front, or do we make it with 1? And they called it the grocery wagon. Well, guess what? They ended up making it with 1 engine, and they changed the name to Short Order. And that's kind of how Hot Wheels were done. And as you can see, these are some other drawings. One's from Larry Wood over here. Here's another one from Lovejoy of something called a chop cycle. I love original artwork. Now, most of my collection is related around Hot Wheels, but Odo Cooney, that designer of Hot Wheels, when he passed, I bought his estate. Turns out he was also the artist for Cox dune buggies and Cox airplanes. So if you see this incredible artwork on the side, look at this. There's the actual artwork on the top. It was in his collection, in his drawers, and all these are back around 1970 era. Pretty cool stuff. And then I mentioned Barbie before. Of course, Barbie had her famous Corvette. But the second step used in making a Hot Wheel is very similar to the same step in making a Barbie. Somebody has to carve out of wood by hand an exact replica first. And that's the exact 1975 piece that ended up making this Barbie. And by the way, in the back is a Porsche, and then I have another Ford Mustang. And all these were released later, all by Mattel. Now, I mentioned Odo Cooney earlier. People are always debating what made Hot Wheels so successful. Well, they're super fast, they're really pretty, but a lot of people say the boxes they sold them in, the artwork, really attracted the kids. And here's some more examples of artwork by Odo Cooney. He was just fantastic. Here's an example of a game. It was never released because they slightly modified it, but he kept all the original artwork. And here's a letter from Elliot Handler. When he reached 90 years old, I wrote him a letter. I said, you never designed a Hot Wheel. So he wrote me this, and he said, the Gasser 5000. Bruce, haven't doodled in a while, but here's one. Comes with the aging process, from Elliot Handler. Now let's go into the second gallery room. You ever wondered, when you buy that toy box, how is it made? Well, it's a pretty cool machine that puts all this paper together. Well, it's not really paper, it's like a cardboard. But here's an example of what we call the printer's proof. If you look really hard, you may see multiple colors up at the top row. That means it's a printer's proof. And this piece of paper is sent to the artist and says, okay, I want this box, it's approved. He loves the colors. And then the machine makes all the boxes. I have a large number of printer proofs that came with Odo Cooney's estate. Here's some examples. They had these boxes that would hold 6 cars at a time. There's one printer's proof, and there's another printer's proof. And by the way, when Mattel salesmen in the 1970s went to stores, they would bring their own display case filled with Hot Wheels and say, hey, here's our new 1973 lineup. Would you like a car? These display cases are really hard to find because most of them were destroyed. Now, if you were a kid and your mom wouldn't let you get the Farrah Fawcett poster, you may have to Google that. When you were young, she may have let you get the Snake and Mongoose Hot Wheels poster. Now, this is the actual original artwork drawn by a guy named George Bartel. And they used this artwork to make the poster that sold millions of posters for Hot Wheels. Now, what's cool about Hot Wheels is you can actually buy them at gas stations. When we talked about that first poster, here's another poster. It's mint. You fill your car up, and for $1.79, you could either get the rally case that holds those cars, or you could get some of that orange track we saw earlier. Here's a special deal. Here's an original sign. Came straight from the box, never used by the gas station. 69 cents you can buy a Hot Wheel back in 1969. Pretty cool. All you had to do is buy 10 gallons of gas. And of course, you can get your Coca-Cola, and then you get a Hot Wheel. That's pretty cool too, just for 70 cents. And again, snake and mongoose, like we talked about earlier. And here's some more cool printer's proofs of the Superchargers we talked about earlier. All from Oto Kuni's artwork. Let's go to the last room in the little gallery section. Hot Wheels in Germany, what are called Heissreiter. You can see the name right up here on this display. This is one of the few displays known that hasn't been thrown away, and you can see all the packages. They say Heissreiter instead of Hot Wheels. And in this display, you can notice some cool items. Remember we talked about that rally case? This one's in all clear plastic. Why is it in clear plastic? Because that's the only known prototype of that car. Of that case. And they would always make prototypes in clear plastic so the engineers could see through how everything works, especially when items had machinery inside. So in this display case, I'll show you a few more items. Perhaps as a young kid, you wanted to have a Hot Wheels wallet. Well, you could have gotten a Hot Wheels wallet. Maybe mom let you get a temporary tattoo. Or maybe when you went to the gas station, the guy was wearing this button that said, "Get 'em here," all from 1970. You could join the Hot Wheels Club and get yourself a patch. And then more items over here. I love the original alarm clock that many kids had. You can see on this corner. And then also original patents, paperworks. Here's a memo from Mattel. They didn't even have the name Hot Wheels in November of 1967. They called it Car Project, talking about the development of the tool patterns. Pretty cool to get all this original documentation. And when I find this, it's what really gets me going. Well, now let's go to the fun part, the warehouse. So let's go. I always wanted a man cave. 22-foot ceilings, 4,000 feet. This gives you an idea of what the warehouse looks like. And we'll do a little exploring. By the way, the neon sign, Little Tavin's, was the second oldest hamburger chain in the United States. And when I found that neon, I said, that's it. Hamburgers and Hot Wheels, they go well together. So let's go over here to talk. When a new idea of a toy is invented, they actually have to do the drawing first. So Bruce Bauer designed this chasing scene of a Corvette being chased by a police car. Cool item, dated 1985. They never actually made the set, but the artwork survived. One of my favorite pieces, this is every single Japanese Hot Wheels released. And they're all numbered 1 through 80. And sometimes they have like number 51 and then a 51A. So there's much more than 80 altogether. It took me 10 years to complete this set. I finally found the last box just about a year ago on eBay in Japan. It's kind of hard for me to figure it out, but I saw that box, I had to buy it. And then over here, I saw earlier today the beautiful Shell gas station banner. This particular banner is what we call the knockoff gas station. So it's probably one of those smaller gas stations, and they wanted to get in the game. So they said, buy your gas. Look at this. $3 a gas purchase. Now that's a pretty good deal, because that's almost what it cost a gallon today. But if you bought $3 worth of gas, you could buy a Hot Wheel for 69 cents back in 1969. Hot Wheels even had its own pinball game. This is the top glass part of the Hot Wheels, and this is the board on the bottom. At my house, I actually have the whole pinball set, but I was able to discover the top and the bottom. I said, let's get it. Hot Wheels back in 1971 had a national race, and the winner got a $1,000 scholarship. Well, I actually have the winning trophy in my collection, but I just love the artwork. Is this the grooviest? 1971. Remember that London taxi? There it is right there. This is a Volkswagen. And then this is the Cord, C-O-R-D, another car, all drawn in this cool 1971 fashion. Now, Hot Wheels today actually sponsors races. And this particular race outfit, if you look all the way in the back, which I can't get to, it says KP, Kyle Petty. So this is an actual outfit he wore for a race. The outfit went back to Mattel. And then one day I made a deal with Mattel. They were missing in their archives a bunch of old Hot Wheels. So I did a trade. They got some Hot Wheels, and I got this great racing outfit. And then why don't we go over here in the collection? I try to find some unusual paper items, original advertising, black and whites, that they would send to newspapers. What's really cool about Mattel, you may be able to tell this one picture. Mattel was very advanced for its age. In 1968, they did advertising with African-American kids. And in 1969, they had an apprentice program for African Americans. And the rarest Hot Wheel in the world, you may have heard, the pink beach bomb. Well, that actual beach bomb was designed by a man named Johnson Quarles, an African American who was there on an apprentice program. I called him years later and I said, what did you design? He goes, well, I carved two cars, the beach bomb and the Maserati. Now, each of those beach bombs is worth at least $20,000. And the Maserati's worth about $100,000. I said, did you keep them? He goes, yeah, I kept one. Which one? He goes, the Maserati. I said, oh, too bad. You would have had maybe $50,000 sitting in your hand. But really nice guy. He's a pilot in Alaska today. And now we go over here. This is a display case I got on Craigslist. They said, anybody want a trophy case for free? I said, I'll take it. Remember we talked about a Hot Wheel earlier? And the first step was to actually make the design. This is a nice Ferrari 308. Well, how is this car actually made? Somebody has to take a solid piece of wood and carve it to the exact specifications. And here's an example of the Ferrari 308. It's the actual wood mold. By a miracle, it was never thrown away. There's a rumor at one time Mattel, people didn't want them, they just threw them away, and a couple guys put them in their fireplaces. But they're actual works of art. They're exceedingly rare, especially when you can find a great model like a Ferrari. Anybody need any fruit juice? Well, if you had the can, you could have bought a Hot Wheel in the back. I love those unusual items. Let's talk about a couple Hot Wheels cars. This Hot Wheel, there's only 10 of these known in the world. You may know it as what's called the Python. But when the first version came out, they called it the Cheetah. And they made maybe 100 of them or so. And then they got a letter from General Motors that saying, hey, we have a car called the Cheetah. You can't use that name. So all of them were destroyed, except about 10 are known. And you can't tell, but on the bottom, and very, 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 very tiny, we'll take a little, I doubt you'll be able to see it. It says Cheetah as opposed to Python. And that little teeny difference makes it worth thousands of dollars. Collectors are always looking for the cars that are rare or not many out. Here's another example. They never made the Camaro in white, but somehow about 40 of them are known. They're all authentic. They're pretty cool. That car is worth thousands of dollars just because it's painted in white. And then one of the cool stories of Hot Wheels, there's a guy named Ed Shaver. Ed Shaver raced on the AMX team in England. He was a race car driver in England. And if you went to the race cars those days, the races, you could have bought an Ed Shaver AMX. It was a regular AMX with some special stickers on the side. Well, less than about a dozen of them are known today too, which makes this exceedingly rare. And nothing's better in the hobby to find something that you just don't see many of them out there. And that's the hunt and the fun part of the hobby. Now, we talked earlier about Hot Wheels. You could have even gone out, not that I need to wash my hair too often, but Prel shampoo. Buy the shampoo, get a free Hot Wheel. And let's just look at a couple other fun items right here. Here's another example of one. Hot Wheels made up other items, like something called revers, slightly larger with rubber bands on the back, and you could zing the car forward fast. And let's go over here. Here's one of my coolest wood models. This actually was an award given to Elliot Handler of the Corvette that he was given, and luckily found my way into my collection. And then this is an interesting story. Hot Wheels just came out this year with this car called the Dream Car. Now, why did they come out with it? Because they discovered in 1953, this was the first toy car that Mattel ever made. And it was called the Dream Car. Pretty cool, futuristic. But I got lucky one day. I actually found the wood prototype from 1952 to make that car. So for me, connecting the prototype to the actual car, that's the exciting thing about Hot Wheels. They're out there, you just got to search and hunt all the time. This particular display, let's look over here first. Do you recognize this actor? Maybe the young people don't, but that's Roger Moore. He was one of the original James Bonds. And that picture was in a British magazine because they decided to make 200 Hot Wheel displays, and they gave one away as a contest. Well, here it is, one of the 200 originally made and less than 5 of them known today. A complete showroom of Hot Wheels. And then over here, sorry about all the plastic, but got to keep them in good shape. This is a 1976 display of what we call the chromed Hot Wheels, the super chromes. And this is exactly what you would have seen if you walked in the store in 1976. And then, these are my fun and favorite parts. They're hard to see on the camera because I protect them in plastic. This is the original blueprint of the Corvette. If you look really hard, you can see the outline of a Corvette right there. Now, why do they look so technical? Because these are the blueprints for the actual molds that made the first 16 Hot Wheels back in 1967 and 1968. And I have loads of loads. That's the Corvette, one of the other Sweet 16s. This is the Bandit, which was another name of a car. And if you can see the outline of the car, that's exactly what the Bandit looks like. It was a car designed by Big Daddy Ed Roth, a famous Rat Fink era, for anybody who knows that 60s culture. So I mostly collect older Hot Wheels, but as I'm interviewing employees and finding people with collections, all the cars in here are actually prototypes. The ones on the bottom, they look like regular cars, but they're actually made from resin and hand painted because when Mattel needs to make the catalog, the car may not have been built yet. So they actually have to make a reproduction and take a photograph of that for the catalog that comes out next year. And then all these have grids on them because whenever Hot Wheels would put a name on the side of a car or a drawing, if they didn't handle the distortion, the graphic wouldn't come out right. And pre-computer, this is the system of how they used them. So it's kind of fun. You learn a lot about the production process. Of course, I love old cars. Nothing's better than coming in here one weekend and picking up an old road and track and reading what's going on. And most Hot Wheel collectors are car collectors. We love cars. So I got a few of them in here. This is my 1962 Chevy Nova Convertible. That's just a fun car to drive in the summertime. It's a big Hot Wheel. That's the Mercedes 560 SL. And then this is really about the size of a Hot Wheel. It's the Alfa Romeo 4C, one of the launch editions. It's a real fun car to drive. It's great. It reminds me of driving a Hot Wheel. What you'll notice also in the back is an Oto Kuni painting that I got it digitalized and ended up making a small painting, which was 6 inches by 9 inches, to an 18 by 24 foot banner in the back. And since it's my man cave, I'm trying to fix it up. Over here, I hired an artist to come up with some of my favorite Hot Wheels. The first one on the left is the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, which was a famous Hot Wheel. The second one is called the Hot Heat. And then the third one, of course, is the Pink Beach Bomb. Maybe at the end of the day, we'll get a peek of that. Well, let's go over and look at a couple more items. But before, let's look up in this top row. Maybe you recognize some of the games that you could have bought and the accessories over the years. And if you look over here, you'll see this poster with a big star on it. Hot Wheels actually had a TV show in 1970 era. It was short-lived, and that's actually one of the posters for the TV show. There's even a sleeping bag all the way in the orange you can see up there. That's one of the sleeping bags. So if you're a kid and you wanted to sleep in your Hot Wheels pretty much permeated everything. We saw the wallet. We could get a watch, an alarm clock. I had a trash can as a kid. It's everywhere. Now, of course, I have some tracks set up. I do have kids coming in here. It stinks during this COVID period. I can't get a lot of kids to come in. But I set the track up. We do the loops. We go through the superchargers. We come out the loops. We can set this whole area, the concrete floor up. And I've had about 30 kids at one time. It takes about a month, and I keep finding Hot Wheels in every single corner of the place. Let's go over here. Anybody like guitars? Years ago, Fender made a special Hot Wheels edition, and it's autographed by Larry Wood, who is the most famous Hot Wheels designer. Now let's go over to the last section. What I've done when I bought Otto Cooney's collection is I've been cataloging them for years. Mr. Cooney not only designed Hot Wheels, Cox airplanes. Remember we talked about the Cox airplanes. All the artwork is here. But he also did Big Jim. If anybody's a Big Jim fan. And he did so many other things. Here's some of the Cox airplanes that he did the artwork. Here's an original. All this is original artwork for one of the Cox airplanes that he sold. He was an amazing artist. And then what I basically do is I catalog all of his artwork, and I'm so grateful that he became such a good friend when he was alive. Now, for the last and greatest piece I have in the warehouse is the pink Beach Bomb. This is the rarest Hot Wheel in the world. And what makes it so rare is A, that it's pink, a color that most boys destroy. But B, it's a Volkswagen bus that's really tall and skinny. And after they made that car, they realized it was so skinny, it wouldn't go through the Supercharger without falling to its side. So they stopped production. We think about 144 of them were made. And then they fattened the car up and changed the look of the car. And that was the Beach Bomb they sold to the public. So this is considered a true prototype. There's about 50 Beach Bombs that are skinny like this known, 2 in pink, but this one's the ultimate prototype. It's in the best condition, and it's the rarest Hot Wheel in the world, and it's worth over $150,000, and it's the pride of my collection. And I hope you enjoyed a little bit of time in my man cave today. Thank you very much.
Oh man, that's amazing. Thank you so much for showing us your amazing collection. Bruce, I have to ask, as someone, like, I remember in my first job working for Kmart, and just getting a little taste of like Hot Wheels collection fanaticism. People would come by at like midnight just trying to scour through any kind of boxes while people were trying to stock the shelves. For anyone who is like, oh, hey, I kind of want to get into collecting Hot Wheels. You are a master collector. What kind of tips would you give people who want to start collecting?
First thing is buy what your passion is and try to limit the scope. So many collectors get in hobbies like baseball cards or Hot Wheels, and they just buy everything that's being sold. You know, you're never going to be satisfied because there's millions of items before you, and there's going to be millions of items afterwards. So unless you have a 100,000 square foot warehouse, I wouldn't try to be a generic collector. So find something that has a passion. Maybe if you like Ferraris, focus on buying all of Hot Wheels Ferraris. And then once you get all the 2020 Ferraris or the 2019s or 18, because they may not be making them this year anymore, then start going back in history and collecting them. If you like Dodge, get Dodge. I know a police officer who only collects police cars. A fireman only collects fire cars, fire trucks. So find your passion, limit it to that, and then learn as much as you can about what you're buying. Get some books, get on the websites, get on Facebook groups that discuss Hot Wheels. And I think that's what really makes me excited about learning so much about the history of the hobby, that makes it so much more exciting when I find a piece of history, not just finding another Hot Wheel, if that makes sense to you.
Totally makes sense. That's along the lines of what I hear from other collectors. You know, you don't worry about, you know, trying to have everything because you're just going to drive yourself mad. You gotta collect passionate about, because that's what you're collecting and you're going to live with it and love it. So love it. And as someone who loves Hot Wheels, and you're an ambassador for the brand, how can people follow you, learn what you're doing, learn what you're collecting, and follow with everything
question.
Bruce Pascal?
My Instagram is Pink Beach Bomb. I guess you can figure out why it's Pink Beach Bomb. And follow me on Pink Beach Bomb. My email is buried up on my address up there, a little about information if you have a specific question. But I try to post every day or every other day a rare Hot Wheel or something dealing with the history of Mattel's Hot Wheels. It's an exciting hobby. And like I said before, it's the #1 boys' toy of all time. What human being has not seen or played with a Hot Wheel or bought one for their kids or will be buying one for their kids in this modern world? And what's really amazing at this time of COVID with people stuck in their house, what better toy to play with? Go back to that old-fashioned world of racing and having fun. And that's the beauty of Hot Wheels.
Yeah, love it. The Hot Wheel I bought today, I just went to my grocery store, 96 cents. What kind of toy can you buy for 96 cents now?
What about the fact that it was 69 cents in 1968? It's amazing how Mattel's been able to keep the price down around $1 for 52 years. I can't think of any other item that has not had as much inflation as a Hot Wheel. And that ability for the mother or the father to be at a grocery store with their kid crying, to spend $1 and to make them happy for an hour, it's the cheapest babysitter you'll ever find in your life.
100% agree. Bruce, thank you so much for being with us today, seeing your amazing collection. It's just so wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us, and for everyone who tuned in with us tonight and are watching us a little bit later. Thank you so much. Like I said before, we do one of these tours every week. So if you want to catch our next one, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, hit the little notification bell so you can learn about other tours that are coming up. And then hit us a like, drop us a comment, let us know what you think, all that fun stuff. And we will see you all next week. Bruce, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Weird Homes, and have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night.